What's up, Eli? How you doing?
Hey, Peter, I'm doing all right. How are you?
Hey, all right, good, good. We just started the video stream. Uh,
Awesome.
had a good room just going in the morning, a good day music room.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, that was fun. And I see some
Yeah.
regulars. We'll bring Angela and Jomar, and why don't you bring all three up onto the stage? And because then we'll just keep muted until we start the show, and that way we're going to kick in. Oops, that was the wrong button I pressed. Got a lot going on. So yeah, I was looking at music news. It's a little different today. It's not as dense, densely packed as we've been for the last few days. Yesterday was really packed, and so it's going to be a little different. So it's going to have some lightheartedness to it. So which we all need every now and then. But it's going to be a good one. Of course, if anybody else has music news they want to bring to the table, feel free to join in the conversation. All right, and we are going into the countdown. Hey there, and welcome to the Music News Power Hour on the Music Industry City Broadcast Network. And today we got a lot of fun to talk about. We're going to be talking about Canada spending $56 million to boost the music economy. Beatport teams up with Bitcoin. Fitness instructors are now music influencers. Songtradr acquires Pretzel, and why you should tease your music releases. Plus, it's your daily Spotify update. It's Thursday. We have a lot to discuss, but first, let's kick over and welcome to my co-host Eli Window. Eli, hey, good to see you.
Hey, Peter, it's good to see you too. I can see you. We are live streaming not just audio but video. Welcome to everyone on Clubhouse for iOS and everybody streaming today.
Right on. You're looking very red today, because you have like the red lighting in there, and it's got the red shirt going on. I'm
Yeah, this
blue.
is this is my this is my shot shirt.
What's a shot shirt?
It's the shirt you wear when you go get your second shot. I don't know. I don't know. I was trying to be clever.
You're getting your second shot today.
I already did.
Oh, congratulations. All right, how you feeling?
Thank you. Thank you. I guess I'm going to be a cyborg by morning. I don't know. I haven't done the research. I'm not sure.
Well, hopefully not so. But let's kick this off. I know we like
All right.
to what we do here is we scour the World Wide Web for music business news that we think we should be open for discussion. And how this works is we read key sections from articles for the first like 20 minutes or so and open the stage for continued discussion for the remainder of the hour. So it's a nice round table. Feel free to raise your hand during the topic if you'd like to come to the stage. And if there's something you want to bring to as a topic that maybe we missed or you wanted to talk about that's so on the news, feel free to raise your hand and join the stage. If we don't invite you up, that means we just probably didn't see you because we are reading something. We do have notes here, so I'm reading teleprompters and everything, so we might not see you come in the room. So just feel free to raise your hand. And also a reminder to access the show notes, which has all the links to the articles and everything. So you can, if you want to do the play at home version, you can follow along by going to musicindustrycity.com, click on the Clubhouse Information Center graphic, and you'll be able to access the show notes with all the links to the articles. But let's get to it. And we like to always kick off with Eli doing This Day in History. Eli, take it
All
away.
right, let's talk about this. In this day in history, first, let's remember songwriter Felice Bryant, who died of cancer on this day, 2003. She wrote many hits with her husband, including the Everly Brothers, Bye Bye Love, All I Have to Do Is Dream, Wake Up Little Susie, and many more hits. Remembering Felice Bryant. On this day, 2013, Richie Havens, the folk singer who opened the legendary 1969 Woodstock Rock Festival, died of a heart attack, aged 72. He died at his home in Jersey City, New Jersey. Moving on, birthdays today. Born today, 1922, American jazz double bassist, pianist, composer, and band leader Charles Mingus. Also born this day, 1936, Glenn Campbell, country singer, songwriter, TV presenter. His hits include By the Time I Get to Phoenix, Wichita Lineman, and of course, Rhinestone Cowboy. Born this day, 1950, British American rock musician Peter Frampton. Born today in 1979, Daniel Johns from Australian rock band Silverchair. Happy birthday. Moving on, this day in history, 1957, Elvis Presley had his custom-built music gates installed at Graceland. The gates were designed by Abe Saucer and custom-built by John Dillers Jr. of Memphis Doors, Inc. Also on this day, 1964, the president of the National Federation of Hairdressers offered a free haircut to the next #1 group in the UK pop charts. He said, "The Rolling Stones are the worst. One of them looks as if he's got a feather duster on his head." That's what he thought of Rolling Stones' hair. Also on this day, 1978, Bob Marley and the Wailers performed at the One Love Peace concert in Jamaica. It was Marley's first public appearance in Jamaica since being wounded in an assassination attempt a year and a half earlier. And finally, on this day, 1991, the Dave Matthews Band played their first ever live show when they appeared at the Earth Day Festival in Charlottesville, Virginia on this day, 1991. And that's it for this day in history, Peter. Back over to you.
Right on. Yeah, the Frampton, there was always this joke, Frampton Comes Alive, like the album, the double album Frampton Comes Alive. And it was like, I think if you, like, once you became a teenager, it was just issued to you. Because everybody from, like, Gen X, boomer generation, was like, everybody had I somehow had 2 copies of that. So the joke was like, you were just issued it. Like, you showed up to a store and they're like, "Oh, here you go, here's your copy of Frampton Comes Alive." Like, I don't know anybody that bought it.
Kind of like that generation's U2.
Yeah, it was like, I don't know anybody that actually bought it, but somehow we had copies. And I know we saved that Rolling Stone comment just specifically for Angela.
I loved it. Feather dusters on their heads, after all.
All right. Okay, fantastic. So let's get into the news. All right, so some of these articles are going to be just really quick today. I'm just going to skim through some because they're good to know and not necessarily be a in-depth talking point. But again, if there is something, I like to always leave a little pause before I move on to the next article. So if anybody's up on the stage and wants to just chime in a quick thought about it, feel free. I'll just give you that little pause before moving on. So this one is from whathifi.com. And once again, you can follow along at home in the show notes at musicindustrycity.com. Click on the Clubhouse Information Center graphic and click on show notes, and there'll be all the links to the articles here. This one titled, Tidal Streaming App Lands on LG TVs, includes Dolby Atmos support. So good news if you're an LG Smart TV owner and also subscribe to Tidal. You now have access to a dedicated Tidal TV app. The new app is compatible with the 2018 to 2021 models running WebOS versions 4 through 6 and can now be downloaded from the LG Content Store. The streaming service, which offers high-fidelity MQA audio, Sony 360 reality audio content, plus a growing Dolby Atmos music library, all through its hi-fi tier, have been notably absent from LG TVs until now. Thanks to the addition of the new app, though, Tidal users can now stream music through their LG TV and take advantage of Dolby Atmos content if their set is connected. If their set connected to the soundbar supports it. So their Tidal's Dolby Atmos music catalog launched in 2019 and includes a lot of the older remixes in the immersive format, such as Kraftwerk's 3D, Hans Zimmer, and REM's Automatic for the People. So there's a lot more that's going on. So this is really interesting. If you are a Tidal subscriber, I mean, this has been a discussion point of high def audio, and this Dolby Atmos is really interesting to see how it's rolling out. Moving on from streaming, and we're talking about, we always talk about influencers and the fact, the power they have with music. What are the new influencers? Well, according to Music Business Worldwide, they're asking the same question of stating, are virtual fitness instructors becoming music's newest influencers? The article starts off, from celebrity training programs to connected rowing machines, fitness is a now near a $100 billion industry. The digital subsector of the market was already thriving prior to the pandemic, with luxury bike maker Peloton, a leading player in the space, reaching a valuation of $4 billion back in August 2018. But since the most world started quarantining last month, propelled by gym closures and more time spent at home, the acceleration of the digital fitness business has gone supersonic. According to Crunchbase, venture capitalists pumped $2.4 billion into fitness startups in 2020, some $1.2 billion more they invested in the space in 2019. So, arguably, one of the contributing factors to the success of many digital fitness companies, apart from their own tech instructors and marketing tactics, is the music they use to soundtrack their instructional programming. The NMPA and CEO David Ebergelite has previously claimed that music is responsible for much of Peloton's swift success. Indeed, music has become such an integral part of the connected fitness product package that Brian Stone, SVP of Business Development Global Digital Strategy at Universal Music Group, cites Wall Street Journal piece from January that suggests remote instructors leading classes on at-home fitness apps during the pandemic, quote, have become much like influencers and DJs in their own right. So the article goes on, and it's like, it talks about when instructors are constructing a class, the music needs to work within the confines of their planned class. You do not go onto the bike or a tread to listen to music. We experience music. Quote, there's a big difference because music is going to trigger emotion. It's going to trigger endorphins. Every song that an instructor programs has its own role and its own place. So, I mean, the article goes in much more detail. It's a very good read. I'm not going to go through it anymore. There's a lot of quotes. But it's. I look at this as like, is this going to be a new payola scheme where you start, they're going to start paying fitness instructors? Here's our exclusive content. Here's a new piece of music, or you can get access to an early release, and we're going to pay you to add that to your Peloton playlist as you're tackling the Swiss Alps.
I feel like what we're probably going to see first is some sync agents who work exclusively with exercise instructors.
When I think of curators for music or people that I'd want to go to first as a port of call for discovering new music, maybe I'm just an indie snob, but the first people I think of are not fitness instructors. I just imagine them standing or sitting or riding or whatever in front of a large room of sweaty people, and the music of choice always seems to be something sped up and over a beat and as no words and nondescript and melody free as possible, but maybe that's just me.
Even as well, oh, sorry to cut you off,
Go
Peter,
on, Brett.
but I was meeting with a potential client last week where he was a hip hop artist, but then his day job, he actually works at a UFC gym in Chicago and teaches MMA. So I was even talking, it was like throughout his development, it's like there's so much potential in that sector. And I know a friend of mine's band just did a song for Peloton, and it's just there's so much potential. And especially even as well, like when you go to your streaming, just all the different workout based playlists and just mood playlists, just for whatever genre to get you in the mood for a workout. There's so much potential on different angles when it comes to this. So
I feel like maybe the fitness instructor choosing music is the new video game sync supervisor. Just an idea.
I would think that, and one of the video games I kind of reference just with the kind of music I work with is kind of the Tony Hawk effect. Just you landed music into that video game series and you were pretty much set in a way. Just because,
Right.
they were picking hip music at the time. So
Right, yeah. It has to be.
Right. And we're looking at also targeted. And the article also goes outside Peloton. I mean, because Peloton also had, they had their licensing issues over about a year ago. So there was that happening. But, the article also talks about other markets. And one they bring into the equation is also about a panel that was discussed. And they had Courtney Phillips, the head of music and mediation Oh, sorry, head of music at the mediation and wellness app Calm, which recently raised 75 million at a valuation of 2 billion and claims to have 4 million paying members. According to, so they're saying that in the wellness apps industry, 1.1 billion was spent in 2020. So what they're talking about here is now sleep. So they Phillips, who previously served in a number of roles with Universal Music Group, told the panel about an increasingly popular sleep category on the platform, which was highlighted last month by the release of a series of exclusive sleep remixes from the likes of Post Malone, Ariana Grande, and Shawn Mendes on the platform. She goes, say, sleep is huge. People are looking for music to help them sleep and help them stay asleep, so we've been working to increase more of the offerings here. And they have more music coming from Tom Middleton, more custom sleep tracks. So, these are different areas that music has an opportunity to be placed in and negotiate different deal structures, or even like taking musicians like their existing catalog, or opportunities for other musicians to be able to, like, now it's like film, television, advertising, apps.
Film,
And,
television, advertising, apps, fitness instructors.
oh, Stuart, I'm gonna invite you up. I know you have a Peloton. I don't know if you want to join in anything about, like, listening habits on the Peloton. I know you're religiously on the Peloton, and we were talking about how much that our they're saying that our virtual the article is our virtual fitness instructors becoming music's newest influencers. So since you're on there, I mean, have you discovered new music?
Rarely. Hey, hi, Peter.
How
Hi,
you doing?
everybody. Good morning.
Great to see you.
Hi, Stuart.
Hi. I don't really. If I'm lucky enough to hear music that's enjoyable to me while I'm working out, I'll turn it up. If not, there's a setting that allows me to listen to more of instructors' instructions rather than the music. And unfortunately, I know that there's people who will ride Peloton because they like a particular genre of music that instructor is playing, and there's instructors that have DJs with them live. But that's not my jam. I'm just trying to work out and not be too annoyed by hearing remixes while I make sure that my heart isn't beating out of my chest at that point. So I don't think I would be the person to discover music on an exercise app. This is Stuart, and I'm done talking.
Thank you, Stuart. Yeah, I mean, the from Soul Cycle and all those other cycling classes, and like, and you probably SNL has definitely had to have a skit on it where it's like, here's that song that you love that was a ballad, and now we're going to pump it at 160 BPMs and make it an EDM remix, and just like, so you could die.
It's like what they did to the ballad One Night Only in Dreamgirls, turn it into a disco remix.
Right on.
Yes.
All right. So, all right. So moving on, we are Bitcoin. And this one is musically, this is Beatport to accept Bitcoin payments and explore, yes, those three letters, NFTs. So dance music platform Beatport is adding a new payment option, Bitcoin, and will start accepting the cryptocurrency in June, which it claims makes it, quote, the first major digital music retailer to do this. That's careful wording. There have been DSPs accepting Bitcoin for some time, but they have tended to be more niche download stores like BitTunes and TradeBit, for examples. So the platform is also helping artists to sell music for Bitcoin. So Imogen Heap's Tiny Human track in 2015, for example, and still with Beatport is the biggest example yet, and its crypto exploration is ending there. It's also getting into the NFTs game, releasing its first Music for Future dance floors on April 23rd. So this is coming up tomorrow. It will include exclusive music from artists including Sasha, Charlotte DeWitt, and Boys Noise, as well as a visual art. A planned series of NFTs will be sold through the Crypto.com marketplace. So this is really interesting. I mean, it's everybody seems to be jumping into this, NFT and Bitcoin space. It's something that I'm all for, but we also have to just be careful about it. Anybody have thoughts on actually, or has sold anything or accepted, traded anything with NFTs or Bitcoins? Well, this company, which is not a company at all, is not going to be doing something in Bitcoin, but the Canadian government is going to spend $56 million to boost the music economy. And this one comes from Billboard magazine. And it's asking me to log in again. Thank you, Billboard, for logging me out. We are going to have to relog in again, and I can't
While
do that
Peter
right
does
now.
that, I want to take a quick check of your local weather right now in your neck of the woods. The local weather experts say that it is most likely still too early to wear a bathing suit out. And that's this quick check of your local weather right here in the Music News Power Hour, where we discuss all the music headlines that you actually want to hear about and have a conversation about. The first half of our show here, each Monday through Friday, from 12 to 1 Eastern, is us reading some headlines. And then the back half of the show is us having a discussion, an open roundtable about any of the headlines that we discussed earlier or any headlines that we might have missed. So stay tuned, put your hand up, and please come join our discussion. How'd it go, Peter? Did the
I,
login work?
I worked it out. Thanks for that. Thank you so much for taking care of that and filling in the weather report as always. Yeah. So Billboard Pro, this is for the pro users, and they happen to like in the last time I launched it, they happened to log me out. So yeah, I mean Billboard is built on WordPress, so you never know what's going to happen. But this one, starting off, the Canadian government spent $56 million this year to boost the music economy. The 3-year funding allocation will target $40 million specifically for the ailing live music sector. After a year of unprecedented struggle, the Canadian government is pledging to inject badly needed emergency funding into the country's depleted music economy. The government said this week that its latest budget allocates, we're going to talk in U.S. dollars, about $56 million for the Department of Canadian Heritage's Canadian Music Fund, and $40 million of which is targeted for the ailing live music sector. The 3-year funding allocation, which in 2021 to 22 will represent $50 million emergency funding, nearly twice the $26 million the government contributed to the fund in 2018 through 19, comes as Canada's live music business has lost 92% of their revenues during the pandemic, according to a study conducted last fall by the Canadian Live Music Association, the CLMA. The association estimates that about 90 music or music reliant venues have shuttered. So it goes on, they're talking about last year, the Canadian Government Emergency Support Fund for the Culture, Heritage, and Sport Organizations allocated $20 million, that's about $15.9 million US, to help the live music industry, and about $4 million US for the recording industry. Since the pandemic began, the federal government has invested close to $50 million in the live sector. So it goes on to talks about other earmarks and everything. This is, it's good to see this happening, but, you hear that number of 90 venues had shuttered, and it's saddening to hear that. Is anybody from up north there that has any other insider information? Not necessarily
Hey,
inside, but any
Peter.
thoughts on this?
Yeah, so I don't know if there's any other Canadians that are up here that are more knowledgeable, but definitely just when you hear the numbers just at a glance, it is quite scary, just to see everybody that's out of work up here, and for myself, that's in the Toronto area. Ontario specifically just recently went into another lockdown, and we're going to be locked down until May. But it's weird because they contradicted themselves in a way where this latest lockdown, they've actually banned any sort of live stream recording out of a traditional venue for the next 6 weeks, which is kind of put a strain on for some of these venues that are trying to make ends meet. But this announcement just kind of goes in hand to hand with the fiscal years of Factor. So the Canadian Music Fund, which is administered through Canada Heritage, there is a third-party company, Factor, the foundation of assisting Canadian talent on recordings, where they administer grants, for Canadian artists, and their fiscal year is in April. They usually, historically, they've come out with May deadlines for recording projects, any sort of live touring support, marketing support. And last year, they had an emergency fund that was available to apply for, whether you are a company, a venue, or an independent artist where you've had a significant hit. Now, because of where we're at in April, and they've yet to, because they're doing an overhaul to all their programming at the moment, a lot of us up here are left to believe that they're still undecisive as to what they want to do going forward to address the current landscape and the future of it. So I feel, like this is probably going to roll out earliest August, but essentially this move is to continue the emergency fund support that they've administered out last year and to support the companies up here.
Right. They earmarked. Yeah, they're saying they earmarked this. I'm going to speak in all U.S. dollars. $239 million over 2 years to establish a recovery fund for heritage. The government also said it will aid major festivals and live events with 159 U.S. Assigned through regional development agencies, and will allocate another $200 million through Canadian Heritage support local festivals, community and cultural events over 3 years. They're saying here, and it's saying from June to November.
Yeah, so the Canadian Heritage piece, that's all administered through Factor. So one of the things, just even my circle, that they've mentioned about that specifically is because with the live support program that you can claim through Factor, one of the pieces that has been really pushed by the community in a sense is to amend it for the hiring of live stream equipment, applying it your traditional touring costs and your showcasing costs, where, for example, you have Canadian Music Week that's coming up in May.
Right.
That's gone 100% virtual. So rather than the travel cost, the hotel cost, the registration, to have that where, hey, you can rent out a venue, you can rent out a hall or a studio.
Right. Yeah. So
bring in the
so they're talking about
Yeah,
and the other thing they're talking about is the Canada Recovery Hiring Program, which makes it easier for employers to hire staff, so to get everything put together.
For sure.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Brett. I really appreciate it. I want to get on to the next set of articles. We can bring this back during the roundtable in the back half hour. So I just want to get a few more articles out there before we go to the roundtable. So, but excellent. Thank you for that update. Really appreciate it. And I'd love to talk more about that. This one comes also from Music Business Worldwide. Songtradr acquires Pretzel, which provides DMCA-proof music for Twitch and YouTube streamers. All right, and there it starts off. Who will be the fastest growing music company of 2021? Don't count out Songtradr. In the past 6 months alone, the Los Angeles headquartered companies, which dubs itself, quote, the world's largest B2B music licensing marketplace, has acquired the likes of music and sound design firm Songzoo, as well as UK-based sync licensing business QSongs. In addition, Songtradr, which raised $30 million in a Series C round last summer, recently launched a new brand-facing division, Vinyl by Songtradr, under the leadership of ex-UMG exec Mike Tunnicliffe and ex-Coca-Cola exec Joe Belliati. So this was coming out from the other day. This is more in big news that they have confirmed the acquisition of Pretzel. It's also known as Pretzel Rocks. For anybody that's on the Twitch platform, you knew that was, or like use Streamlabs OBS for your streaming, you know that you can tie those all together. It's a platform that supplies stream-safe music to live streamers on Twitch and YouTube. And, the issue has been, especially going back into last fall, where the DMCA takedown notices were having a lot of issues. Twitch streamers are having a lot of issues with the DMCA takedown notices, and Twitch wasn't acquiring the proper licensing. This is where a lot of companies came in, and I'm speaking off the article here, is companies like Monster Cat. Harris Heller created an entire Spotify database playlist of music that are allowed to stream, and Pretzel is one of those companies that allowed to DMCA free licensing music. So this was a huge thing that it started getting a lot of this pickup, and in return, as opposed, going back to the article, as opposed to traditional royalties, Pretzel pays the artist 70% of its net subscription revenues, money generated by live streamers who sign up for the service's premium features. When you consider that nearly 10 million individual streamers broadcast content over Twitch last month, it's not hard to see how a mushrooming market is opening up for music that carries fewer licensing obstacles than traditional music industry releases. And this is, to market that's been zeroed in by the likes of a $1.4 billion value at Epidemic Sound. And now it's one in which Songtradr is making a serious investment. So this all ties in with music and gaming and being able to license. And, if we look at, I think part of a theme here is also about artists, musicians looking at different revenue streams, whether it's not just putting something up on Spotify. It's also about where can my music be played and I can generate revenue from something as allowing my music to be streamed in video games, in Twitch, YouTube, those types of platforms. Anybody have to deal with any DMCA takedown notices or any streamers or anybody have any thoughts on this?
Well, I know that at my theater, when we do live streams, we have to be very careful about playing whatever music the band's engineer is putting through the console pre-show for house music, because it'll trigger a takedown before our live stream even starts. So a service like this might be helpful for us.
Yeah, and Monster Cat is another one. I mean, we saw where Metallica played a live stream a month or so ago, and Twitch replaced their live streaming music with just kind of like 1980s 8-bit music, like Super Mario Brothers kind of stuff, and it was in real time. They did a music replace
on their own show.
Yeah, their own music.
That must have been, I mean, putting aside the obviously disappointment of many, many, many fans, looking back on it now, that must be relatively, I imagine they could drop that as an NFT and that would be absolutely amazing. It would sell for fortune.
I mean,
think about when we used to run to the record store to buy the record when it first came out on release day, and then every now and again at the record store, the guy behind the counter would be like, "We also got this one they gave us. It's like a mispressing," and you'd like lunge over the counter and be like, "I want that one. I want the mispressed one." It's kind of like the mispressing of the album.
It's pretty funny. You can find you could find the videos of it, and it's pretty funny because it's Metallica rocking out, head banging, and it's like, and you see like do 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 do, like, so it's really a great juxtaposition. So
that's my evening sorted.
There you go. All right, so we have a couple fun a couple fun ones here. This is from Loudwire. And the metal devil horns, it's like, where did rock and metal's devil horns hand gesture come from? So this is kind of like one of those, how to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Tootsie Pop. It's like the world may never know. Well, this goes back to the sound of the horns, also well known. The devil horns and the metal horns is ubiquitous in heavy metal, hard rock, and beyond. And we've seen it, but it talks about, some readers might think, Ronnie James Dio first flashed the devil horns, but is that right? Or is it Black Sabbath user Butler who brought the gesture early? Maybe it was Gene Simmons trying to trademark a version of the horns in 2017 had some giving kisses the demon the Clane. So this is a great story. I just wanted to add this in. You can get this in the show notes, the link to it, and that is at musicindustrycity.com. You click on the Clubhouse Information Center graphic, and that'll take you to the show notes. It's a fun article. I mean, it's not a heavy-duty news, but I just thought it goes into like where it talks about with Dio, and when Ronnie James Dio, he's like, we wanted to separate ourselves, so we started doing this on stage. It's a nice article, so I just wanted to have some fun with it. So again, it's, if you want to know the history of where the devil horns came from, you have it right there. And since today is Earth Day, happy Earth Day, everyone. This one comes from Rolling Stone magazine, or Rolling Stone Web. And this one is Justin Bieber and more join Earth Day, the musical lineup. So there's a whole bunch of performances going on, and it's through Facebook Live. So the article kicks off. Facebook Live has announced the lineup for Earth Day, the musical event airing today at right about now. It's kicking off. So there's going to be Stevie Aoki, Charlie and Dixie D'Amelio, Zac Efron, and more. So the event will also feature appearances by Jack Harlow, Cody Simpson, and many more. So this is the hashtag, and you can follow along, is Restore Our Earth Challenge, and that is calling for viewers to share photos, videos, and other posts about these steps they've taken to reduce the effects of climate change and save the planet. So just two, like you want to keep things a little light and interesting, and we are going to go into our daily Spotify update.
Ooh, the Spotify spot. Big green dot hits the spot. We are about to go into the Spotify spot here. I want to take a moment and reset the room. Thanks everybody for listening. And if you're joining us on the stage, thanks for being part of our discussion today. This is the Music News Power Hour, and you can join us every weekday from 12 to 1 Eastern right here on Clubhouse for iOS. We are also streaming across so very many platforms. So thank you so much to all of our streaming listeners as well. If you're in the audience at this point and you'd like to raise your hand as Peter reads out our final headline here, please go ahead and hit the hand raise button and we'll be happy to bring you up on the stage so that you can join our discussion. Or if you'd like to ping one of your friends into the room, you can use the plus sign to ping one of your friends into the room also, and then make sure they get their hands up as well, which means something a little different in this room than it does in the club.
Right on. Thank you, Eli. All right. This is not less of a Spotify. I mean, we've been talking about car thing. We've been talking about all their things they're doing. This one was from Variety, and this came out, I believe, a few days ago. And it was just an update. It was 15 years of Spotify, how the streaming giant has changed and reinvented the music industry. And it's a very well written article. I mean, it starts off, ask any executive what the music business was like in the aughts, and their face may take on an expression more commonly associated with narrowly averting disasters like car accidents or, more accurately, attempted robberies. Due to peer-to-peer file sharing platforms like Napster and LimeWire, U.S. recorded music revenues lost more than half their value in the early years of the 21st century, falling precipitously from an all-time high of $14.6 billion in 1999 to $6.7 billion in 2014 and 15, this according to the RIAA. Songs transitions from being sold on physical object like a CD or vinyl to becoming a sound format that could be easily and illegally distributed for free. Piracy ran rampant, and the music industry failed to come to grips with how quickly and drastically the world has changed. While iTunes brought some stability to a business model in freefall, in essence, an entire generation growing up believing that it didn't have to pay for music. So then comes Spotify, goes into right here, but there's a few points that I just want to cover, and this is open up for discussion. And they have, the 15 points. I'm just going to say them and maybe the first sentence, because it is a really great article to read if you haven't seen it already. And what Spotify has helped is decline of music piracy, the illegal downloading and filing shared by Napster and LimeWire. And, yet Spotify made legal streaming so that easily combined with the music industry's consumer awareness campaigns, new generations were taught to pay for music again, albeit a fraction. Degenreification of music. So back in the CD era, being musically adventurous was an expensive luxury. How many people paid nearly $20 for an album they ended up not liking? So now subscriptions are around $10 a month, and you can hear millions and millions of songs. Free subscription tiers. That's something Spotify was doing that Apple wasn't really, talking about at that time. They were talking about mood playlists. The autoplay function was really something that Spotify created in that sense. They helped to end Apple's monopoly. So with the introduction of the iPod in 2001 and iTunes 2 years later, Apple quickly and completely dominated the legal digital music world, holding a whopping 69% of digital sales market in 2009. Its closest competitor, Amazon MP3, lagged far behind with only 8% of the market share. But Apple's runaway reign over digital music consumption ended in 2016 when streaming revenue finally surpassed that of digital downloads. And that at that point, it was Spotify leading with 44% of the global market, and Apple Music followed by 19%. Playlist curators became stars. Your personalized year-end recap. Everybody, I think, really kind of gets a kick out of their Spotify year-end recap. Songwriter and producer credits and promotions. That was something that was big that Spotify started putting into play. The hateful conduct policy they discussed, and artists can share their stories. So they had Spotify clips. Direct donations. Now they're adding that so you can donate directly to your artist, and mini videos to accompany your song. So Spotify Canvas. Plus is just rolled out in beta in 2021, where artists can upload a customized 5 to 8 second video loop to accompany the music's cover art as the song plays. And then licensing music for podcasts is something this is, since 2019 with your daily drive, personal selections, things like that. And then finally, controversial targeted ads for artists. So in October 2019, Spotify launched our advertising platform Marquee, first of its kind with an audio-only streaming service accessible through Spotify for Artist Portal. It was a sponsored recommendation tool for which a performer or their team pays Spotify for advertisements targeting users most likely to be interested in the ad. So a lot, this is Spotify in 15 years, what they've done. And we are going to wrap up the reads and just open this up now to the roundtable. If there's anybody who has any thoughts, wants to chime in on any of the topics that we covered or bring something else to the table that we might have missed, feel free to just unmute or raise your hand, come on up to the stage, and let's talk.
Bit of breaking news just came across my Facebook page. Les McEwen, Bay City Rollers legend, passes away suddenly, age 65. Rest in peace, Les McEwen.
Rest in peace.
In memory.
So we had 15 years of Spotify. And we're hearing, people still complain. We had a discussion earlier, and an artist was bringing up, they're like, yeah, well, I want to focus, it's like, I really need to, they were complaining, they were focused on this Spotify 0.00, whatever it is per stream. And I keep on bringing up the fact that it's like, we talked about in the news during the week where they were saying that when the Apple Music was saying, oh, they pay, more than double of what Spotify pays. And then some media ran with it saying Apple pays a cent, per stream. And this is all not true. And the article in Variety where Jem Oswald just kind of makes it a point to like pay attention and corrects that. And, the thing is, they're talking about like this per stream rate, and that labels, they aren't looking at per stream rates. They're looking at the bigger package, because it's not, they're not paying every single person this per every time the stream is played. But so therefore artists, some people are against Spotify, some people are for Spotify. It's like, I enjoy Spotify, I use Spotify, but am I anti-Spotify? Do I think they should pay out more? Yes, that would be great. But Spotify to me is not, you look at those 15 things that they've, the main points there in that article. And I've always said, it's like, Spotify is not a music streaming company. Spotify is an entertainment service platform now. You see what they're doing with podcasts, the videos, everything that's going on. And it's what they're doing is not just music streaming. So is it going to become secondary? I mean, now that Facebook is saying that you can stream Spotify podcasts into Facebook, which Spotify and Facebook has had that integration since 2010, 2011 was it? That integration was put in play that people don't remember. Many don't remember signing up and saying, linking your Facebook. You had to sign up for Facebook to get into Spotify. Anybody have any thoughts on that?
I was going to say, at one point, I think we were concerned that we were going to have to use Facebook to sign into everything. And you still can use Facebook to sign into a lot of things. But at one point, that was mandatory, and a lot of people forget that.
Something came to mind when you were reading that, Peter, as I was listening. I'm like, when we talked about this the other day, when they were talking about the price per stream, I'm just wondering why the sort of first thing that pops into our minds. I guess maybe it's because it's the music business, and we value music so much that it would almost stand to reason that the pricing model for bulk streams wouldn't work out as actually less for larger artists per stream, considering it's far more likely, it's similar to like a wholesale model, where it's far more likely that, say, an artist like Drake, for example, dropping a single or dropping an album is going to drive so much traffic to Spotify. And you're not only just going to sit there and listen to Drake, especially after you've listened to the album, you're probably going to hunt there and look for other things. So there's obviously a promotional aspect that these artists and the labels see in partnership for making deals with Spotify. But I highly doubt, as you said before, correctly so, I imagine, Peter, that they're counting individual streams of every single stream that Drake streamed of that new song, and then paying them accordingly. It stands to reason that it would almost be like a wholesale model, in the sense that they make a deal and then that's the price, that's the amount per streams, and if it exceeds X amount and exceeds expectations, there's balloon payments or bonuses, much in the same way that they pay for, sports deals when they draw an incredibly large audience, or when they don't draw an incredibly large audience, there's no extra additional payout. So it almost seems as though potentially individual artists who are working out this price per stream are potentially getting more per stream than those large artists. It's just that because of the sheer numbers, the volume doesn't quite make up the difference. Does anybody have any knowledge about whether or not I'm totally talking out of my ass on that?
Anybody want to chime in on that one? So it's hard to take a look at. It's
Mike,
like if
you had opened up your mic. I'm sorry, Peter, to interrupt. Mike, did you have one more thing to add?
No, I was just going to comment that it's a quiet room today.
Oh man, I was like, oh no, we cut off your comment in this quiet room, and I'm so sorry. Now I cut off Peter in this quiet room.
No, I could just put that in, like, when it gets quiet again. No, it's a difficult conversation, and I don't know the math behind it, and we all know there's different deal structures, and a lot of these artists, what happens is also in media, what gets reported is, what doesn't get reported is when an artist says, here is my royalty statements. Here it is. I'm going to put this out for you. This is how much I made from Spotify last month. Isn't this abysmal? I had, 100,000 plays and I made, $5. I don't know what the math comes out to. But that's what they're saying. What they don't tell you is, okay, Spotify's not paying the artist directly. Spotify's paying the labels, paying the distributors, paying that. Okay, so where are the cuts? What's the splits? You don't hear like what their splits are. You don't hear what their deal agreements are. You don't hear all of that. It's the iceberg. You're just seeing the tip of it. You don't know what other splits are going behind it. You don't know what their deal structures are, and they're saying this. Now, if you also compare it to, then they say, let's compare this to terrestrial radio. When it used to get plays in a major market, and you'd get, hey, I got 50,000 spins over the course. It's like, wow, great. Okay, so 50,000 spins. That's a lot of spins, okay? 50,000 spins. People still equate this to, and 50,000 streams. They still equate it to saying, I want the same money that when I got 50,000 spins. Now, first of all, if on terrestrial radio, if you performed on it, you're not getting paid. Only if you wrote the song are you getting paid. There you go. The other thing is 50,000 spins on a radio goes out. If you play it, how many people are listening to that song at that particular time in that market? So it's not a per spin. And there's this still, like, people still have that thought pattern of like, hey, I have 100,000 plays. I should be making all this money. Well, why are you entitled to all that money when you had 100,000 plays? Now, is that 100,000 plays that were the entire 3 minutes and 47 seconds of your song? Was that 15 seconds of your song? What are these numbers? Is it the same person listening to your song over and over again? So, these are the things that don't get discussed in that situation where you see the headline. And again, this is all information. This is all across all media. The information is saying that here's what somebody's making on this. Bad Spotify. But we looked at it. If they say, with the protesting, we ran the numbers saying the protesting, whatever that organization was saying, we demand 1 penny per stream. Okay, according to the 2020 Spotify's annual reports, it was like $8.6 billion, or the revenue is gross was $8 billion. Okay, we ran the numbers and we multiplied how many monthly active users, plays, things per month, how much everything. We ran it out. It was, pretty close, but it was saying if we paid one stream, okay, how many streams they have per month, how many users how many average streams per user, all that. I forgot the exact details, but it came out to they would have to pay $8.6 billion. So they would have to pay $8.6 billion just for all the streams, yet their gross revenue is $8 billion. So what do we want to do? Do we want to up the pricing for all of the other tiers? Do we want them not to have podcasts where they're just paying out? What's the solution then? And that's the question.
It's in fairness, it's a losing model by the numbers, because the more like I pay the same amount as somebody that only listens to one playlist a week, and I may listen to, you know, 15 hours a day of Spotify music, but my amount of listening as a frequent user, you would want to see that as rewarded in some sense, because I'm a a pro user, a frequent user. But if that's the case, I'm basically getting more for my money than the person who streams one playlist a week while they're doing their workout, which means that to Spotify, it's actually more valuable to hang on to the user who doesn't use very much, because they're still paying the same subscription fee, but their payout versus what they're actually listening to is unequal. I'm actually, I'm the one at the all you can eat buffet who's eating 4 plates of food to somebody's kid who pays the same amount but eats, half of a plate's worth. So there's a lot going on there. And at the same time, the experience, like you said, Peter, if you're whether you're listening to the song, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've listened to a song more than halfway through and hated it. I'm never going to go back and listen to it again, but that artist is going to get paid for that. Whereas if I stream an artist I love all day long, every day, I kind of wish I could turn up a little meter, send them a little extra, or tip them in some way to say, I love this way more than I did that rubbish song that I heard earlier today. But everything weighs the same when it comes to stream.
Yeah, the gym membership model, sort of, right?
I was just thinking that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I only have a couple minutes, but I have a question, kind of within the same world of this. I'm just getting hip to Qobuz, and I'm in terms of the news portion, my publicist told me that he heard that that major DSPs may soon be pushing out to Qobuz. But I'm curious if that model, which has a couple different perks, right? Like you buy your Qobuz account, you can stream at a much higher quality. If you've if that is an answer to any of this, or is it just a different package of the same thing? I'm just curious if there's news around it, and if you feel like it addresses any of the concerns you're talking about.
So we're looking at the competing platforms and high resolution, and we've also discussed it yesterday's news. So you can actually go back to the show notes, and if you want to look up one of the headlines, we talk about why should we care about high res audio, and we're also looking at what Tidal just did today. We're talking about that Tidal streaming app now lands on LG TVs, including the Dolby Atmos support, and then Spotify is rolling out their hi-fi version. Is that going to be what's the price point for that? So paying more for high quality, but that's part of Qobuz's model. I mean, it comes down to users, interfaces. I mean, but that's not the tell-all, because here is going back to Rdio. Rdio is one of the greatest interfaces out there for music, and it just didn't catch on. But that was also during Spotify. There was a real big rise of Spotify at that time, and Pandora did the acquisition of Rdio and then just put that dashboard away. But the thing that it's Qobuz, and we hear they were talking about 1 cent per stream. And I can't remember the numbers yesterday, but it is in that article yesterday, and it was talking about Tidal. It was called something like Why Go Hi-Fi. It breaks down the numbers of how much Tidal has to pay out per, or how much revenue what's the break even point. I know there were some figures in there. I can't remember them offhand. It's in the show notes. How much they have to pay for regular stream versus high res. So it's a revenue thing, and what other offerings. That's why a lot of these platforms are turning into like entertainment services. You look at Tidal's acquisitions and partnerships and everything, and what are they? you look at it's not just going to be about music streaming. I feel that the music streaming services that just say we're going to stay music streaming are going to they can exist, they can be in their own silo, and they can have their own followers, like Adagio, like that are more specific to say jazz or world music or classical, and they could have their like dedicated followers and users and their user base. But if for somebody to compete or even like try to get a few points of that market share from Apple and Spotify, they're going to have to do something more than just high res audio.
I think in a lot of cases, they're just creating USPs because they have the solution in hand. Obviously, the solution exists to have higher res audio, and it's relatively not simple, but it's technologically a capability to be able to produce that on the same model. But that isn't a problem for as many people. The problem for people is what we were talking about before, the sort of morality of being able to stream at a relatively low price as many artists and songs and whatever as you want, and the artists not being compensated to the tune where they feel it's fair. Having a higher, I mean, if you offered me a higher resolution version of those artists and charged me more for it so that you could pay those artists more, it's almost unfair to guilt me into to paying more so that I can have those higher quality things because I'm listening to it on a mobile phone, or I'm on a pair of sort of relatively middle level rate headphones like most people are. If I were a true sort of audiophile and had access to the kind of equipment that would really make that sing, I would. But it's such a niche group that it almost seems strange to expect them to saddle the morality of paying more to the artists because they have the equipment to be able to enjoy it better. It seems like those two things are apples and oranges to me.
But
Yeah, no, that I totally hear that, and it's professional producers that are talking to me about Qobuz and me reaching out to my publicist about it. It was new to me, and it definitely seems like a cool way to engage with music, but that doesn't really address any of the fundamental concerns of streaming. I'm just yeah, so I think that makes a lot of sense, Angela.
Somebody said
um,
It's true. Yeah, Greg, go ahead.
uh,
We have a great discussion going on here, but I think we're all trying
yeah,
to talk over each other. Go ahead, Greg.
I'm one of those weirdos who's listening to Spotify right now on like a $4,000 system, but most people don't care about quality that much because MP3 is, taken over, and now there's a whole generation enjoying it and learning music on MP3s that don't sound that great. But somebody, I think, was it Eli that said earlier, more artist engagement, or I should say engagement with the artist and the consumer, like a tip jar. There's so many great ways or Spotify could be monetizing and expanding their business model. I'm getting turned on to this new record by whoever, and I want more information. I want the bio. I want to see what else this artist has. I'd be happy to send them a tip, or get to their website, or buy a T-shirt, or buy the physical product. To me, Spotify is a way of learning what records should I buy, and I spend a couple $100 a month on physical records, and Spotify is just a gateway to what do I like, and Spotify doesn't seem interested in taking to this next level of engagement, which would help out the artists so much and allay so many of their fears
well, I
and
think they're
concerns.
building
Am I,
in.
am
Okay,
I
I, I,
so
missing
th-
that?
I think
so
they built
basically
something
what we've
in.
decided is we've fixed all of the ills of Spotify right here in this room. Done. Let's dust off our hands.
That's
We
what the
fixed
spot.
it. We solved it.
That's what the Spotify spot is for.
That's what
Yeah.
the Spotify spot is for. And you know what? The Spotify spot is one of my favorite spots in the Music News Power Hour. We are winding down the Music News Power Hour for the day. We just have a couple of minutes left in the room. We try to keep it from 12 to 1 each weekday Eastern time. So please do join us again. Tomorrow is our Friday week in review. So if there's anything that we've discussed during the week that you'd like to bring up and circle back to and have a more in-depth discussion about, please do come back tomorrow 12 to 1 Eastern and put your hands up, and let's discuss further in depth in our Friday week in review, which we do every Friday. For my co-host Peter Schwing, my name is Eli Window, and I want to thank you so much for joining us today right here in the Music News Power Hour, where we got hands up and we have all the news that you actually want to discuss. Any final thoughts from anybody today as we wrap up this room?
I have one final thought that was touched on by Angela, and it was kind of leaning towards that user centric model, and that's what SoundCloud was doing to change that modeling. And, and that's been something that people have been trying to get Spotify to do since 2014, 2015, around that time.
They don't want us to their point is not for us to discover new music. Their point is for us to continue to use their app, to continue to use their site. That's why podcasts are on it. That's why they're doing all of these other things. I'm not saying they're the bad guy, because they're a great service, but if their mission statement was about helping artists make as much money as possible, they would have done that already.
And that's not their mission. Their mission is to provide
They don't want us
value.
buying physical product.
Exactly.
Because when I'm spinning my records, I'm not on Spotify. And that's a very selfish way of looking at
You got it.
musicians.
It's just like when you have a band playing in the casino, they have the band take a really, really long break. They want everyone to leave the stage area and go back out on the floor and gamble. And that's what we're looking at with Spotify as well. They want to see us on the platform. They want to see us looking at their advertisements. Absolutely, physical product is their enemy.
I think that's a great way to wrap up. Thank you, Eli, and thank you, everybody. This has been a great hour, and we will see you tomorrow with the Week in Review. So see you tomorrow, Eli.
See you tomorrow, Eli. I'll see you tomorrow too, Peter, and hopefully we'll see all of you right back here in the Music News Power Hour at 12 Eastern tomorrow for the Friday Week in Review. Have a great day.
All right, have a good one, everybody. Cheers.
Bye, y'all.